progress, and welcome everyone back to Sessions of Mary Jane. I'm Brendan O'Brien.
I'm Reena Ezra.
And I'm Jordan Fried.
And we are very lucky to have on the podcast a very special guest. She is a screenwriter, a poet, all around white. Sorry, I just went a little Bugs Bunny there. It's Aleeza DeAlto. Thank you, Aleeza, for being here today.
Hi.
Hi. Yes. Did I say your last name right? Is it DeAlto?
Yeah, no, you got it right the second time. First time, no. Okay. Second time, yes.
What's the most common mispronunciation of your name that you've had?
DeLato is a fan favorite.
Like gelato?
Yeah, like gelato. I think it's like they really want to be Italian so badly in how they're saying it that it comes out very wrong.
Yes.
But yeah, I used to get Diablo as a kid. Which is cool. Loved that.
So it is an Italian family? You are Italian?
Yeah, like a little Italian, just like the most minutely that you could possibly be.
What's the rest of the background, the rest of the mix?
Oh goodness me, what am I?
That is a big old existential question.
The question you ask yourself every day.
What am I?
Any of us? No, so like culturally, quote unquote, Argentinian, genetically Cuban, and then like a whole lot of other shit that's just like smaller and smaller percentages as you go.
I like how you answered that. That's neat. That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you been to Argentina or Cuba?
I wish I could, but it's like I think my family's like scared of letting us go, and now with the pandemic I want to go, but they're like, no, if you go there's like some weird bad blood family that's going to attack you if you go, and I'm like, all right, I mean, I guess I don't want to get killed, so
yes,
I'll just hold off. I'll hold off for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing now. Yeah, I'm not going to Iran. I'm holding off to when I am able to go there, whenever that day is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, before we travel any further, we just want to let you know that throughout the course of this podcast, you will receive a challenge to do where you have to name items on a list. Are you ready for the challenge?
Oh, of course, yes.
I like your attitude. See, so at any point, you must name as many poets as you possibly can. So you say them, and you put them on the list. See how many you get at the end of the podcast. Easy, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. So who you got?
Oh God, now. Okay.
You do whatever. But if you have one that you can think of to start off.
Olivia Gatwood.
How does she rank for you in terms of poets that you like?
Oh, she might be one of my favorites, I think. She's in my top 5. I like most contemporary poets, I think. Anyone who just like rambles at you their piece, and it sounds more of like a folk song when you're reading it. It's just hits home.
Like 25 tweets in a row.
Yeah. If I had there's a book that I highly recommend called Dreaming of You by what is her name? Melissa Lozada Olivia, who's another poet, and it's this beautiful broken story about this poet who's having an existential crisis. So she resurrects Selena, like the Latin pop star who was like murdered, and it's about her relationship with being Latinx and like what it means to be a woman in your 20s, like what it means to be a writer and her relationship with all of that. And it's a poem. It's a poetry book, but it's told in a narrative. So each poem like flows with the other.
Wow, interesting.
Very, very good. Highly recommend.
Oh, noted. That's gonna go on my list.
Yeah. What are the things in what are the parts of the things that you like to read that are most important to you? Like, what are the qualities of a writer that you need the most?
I love like blunt honesty, I think. I don't want to read something that's like meant to be pretty. I feel like I usually gravitate to like film and television for that a lot of times, for like something that's supposed to be less about words, but I feel like in words I find the most truth. Like that's where I'm the most honest in my writing than I am even when I'm like just having a conversation with somebody. So I feel like when I'm looking for other writers, I want to see that kind of perspective. I want to see someone who's like not afraid to say what's exactly on their mind.
Yeah. When did writing start for you?
Oh God, I've always written, always. Like I think before I was interested in literally anything else, writing was home for me. It was a place where if I didn't feel safe to say the words on my mind, I knew I could put it on a page and hide it somewhere. And then like it's always the thing I go back to. So even if like if screenwriting doesn't work out, I know I can go back to just like prose. If like film doesn't work out, I can always go back to that. Like it's always home base for me. It's a way to ground myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that you've been able to like just like grow as a person and be more honest with yourself because like you've like do you like force yourself to have to like write really honestly every single time that you write something?
No, sometimes I feel like, especially lately, writing has been more of like I've never been a diary person. Like when I would try to write diary entries, I always wrote it as if someone was going to find my diary and read it. Like
Yeah.
like I was always so like well coiffed. I had so much like grammar anxiety, and I would never really just say what I wanted to do. It wouldn't come out the right way. I feel like maybe specifically poetry has been like the thing where it's like it's not meant to necessarily be pretty poetry. You can just say exactly what it is that you're feeling. So it's always been the thing that I'll like go to as like a form of therapy. It's like, okay, so this big thing just happened to you, and you have no idea how to fuck to talk about it. So just write some broken metaphors and it'll make sense in 2 weeks from now.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a cool way of looking at it.
Yeah.
There's something you've never been able to write about, something that didn't flow easily through poetry.
Oh, that's so interesting. I feel like no, there's things that like I can't write outside of poetry. Like poetry is like it's like anything goes with poetry, but like when it comes to like there's like screenplays that I would love to write that I can't bring myself to make into an actual narrative yet. But like I have poem after poem about them. And there's like stories that I would love to tell people, but I can't like piece it together in anything other than poetry.
Got you.
Yeah. What is it about screenwriting that just is it that separates it from poetry or makes it more difficult?
I think it's because I can see what it is that the story is supposed to be, but then actually like putting it down, I don't know. I think I'm still trying to get over that hump of you know, when you watch a movie and there's that point where it's like the protagonist like it's like they hit their first big challenge and then they have this montage moment where it's like they're going to learn exactly what it is that they have to do.
Yeah.
Work into that montage and all the like grunt work goes into there, and then they come out the other side and it's like, oh, I'm in the third act already and everything's fine now. I feel like in my head screenwriting is that montage moment, and I'm trying to like learn how to live in it because it's supposed to be shit when you first start writing anything. You have to like get through the hump and hurdle of like these plot points are going to be crappy. I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Yeah.
I don't understand these characters the way that I think I do, and like it has to sound like shit first before it gets better. But I think the shit part, I have to like get over the hurdle of it being shit.
Yeah, and that always seems to be hard. So even like when, like no matter how much you write, it's like there's always like you always like want your things to be good. So it's like hard to accept that they will not be perfect and good at one point, especially early on.
Is there anything else in your life you do apply that much pressure on yourself for besides writing?
Oh, probably everything, honestly.
Is that your nature? Is that you?
I think it might be. Yeah, I actually just quit I've been working in the AD department on a few different like Apple TV shows for the past like year.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Like a set PA, and I recently just quit my job. I was running first team, like the thing that you like you kind of like not take care of the cast, but like you help cast like get through HMU, you get them to set and like all that other crap. And I quit. I've never quit a job before in my life. I've always been the kind of person that's either like you worked one job or two jobs, but not no job, or
Yeah.
but this is like the first time where I'm taking like a little stance and be like, no, my mental health is a bit more important than this, or like it's a bit more important than a minimum wage job, you know?
Good. Congrats. I'm quitting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
just
it's very liberating.
yeah. Also, I think we were, a little taught for a bit, growing up that like quitting was always viewed in a negative light instead of being like, yeah, quitting is good sometimes.
Mhm.
There are definitely things you should be proud you quit because that otherwise, how are you going to shift gears? If you're still stuck in the same cycle, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know what else there was out there for me if I didn't leave this other thing.
Yeah.
So good for you. That's great. Was there a change in perspective when the pandemic hit as far as seeing things being just like the weight of certain things and being like, oh yeah, I can't, because there's a study came out, there's a huge increase of people quitting their jobs for many of those reasons, because they were like, now finally, I guess the pandemic was giving some clarity to some people.
For sure. Yeah. I know that like when the pandemic started, I went from going to school full time, working full time, helping out at home full time, commuting like 4 hours a day, to just like, you can maybe go and do some yoga or go for a walk if you want to.
Mhm.
That was a much bigger hit than I'm used to. I'm going to drink some water. Hi. But
Hydrate, everyone.
Yeah.
Reminder to hydrate.
Yes, podcast is brought to you by H2O. Drink that water now.
but yeah, it was really liberating to just like be a person for a while. And I remember having a conversation with somebody where they said something like they're like, oh, the pandemic is going to like really do some like lifelong change on some people. They're going to change their work habits. And I was like, are they? Or is it just that like right now they can't work as much as they're used to? And then there's going to be a point where the pandemic gets a bit like the numbers are going to go down and things are going to open up again and people are going to go right back to where they were before. But now they're going to be more burnt out. They're going to be quicker to like lose steam.
Mhm.
And I feel like I for sure did that. Like as soon as the pandemic was like things were lifting, I graduated college and I just immediately started working. And when you work in the film industry, you're working like maybe, I know that for me personally, I was pushing like 80 to 90 hours a week, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And then I took a office job after that job ended and it went down to like 60 hours a week. And I was like, oh, a break.
Oh my gosh. But that is kind of the norm. Like we've talked about that, where like you're trained when you go to school, you have to have these many clubs, these many classes, take these many credits. You're eating lunch on your way to your next class. And it's just like, wait a minute, why is that the condition? We should not be getting used to operating that way. And you always feel like you have to function for a purpose instead of just be. And you're like, I don't know how to just be. Like, yeah, what is my schedule? Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was gonna say, do you think like, because I work on a lot of film sets too, whether it's like background acting or PAing stuff, do you think it is like the general consensus that like so many people like the fact that we work so many hours because then you get to be off so many hours, like it's on and off hard? Or do you think it's just a money thing and we're just kind of forced to do it and we do it because it's just the thing?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, it's in a lot of ways, it is not sustainable to work as a PA in this industry unless you already come from money or have like a little nest egg set aside, because like I personally am very fortunate that I saved up a lot for my other jobs. I just kind of lived like a hermit. And so me quitting my job recently is not going to necessarily, I mean, fingers crossed, that it's not going to like ruin my life. But like, there are people who, you finish a job that's 6 months long where you're working nothing but like 80 to 90 hours a week, but then you don't have enough money left over to like live. So then you have to immediately jump into the next job. Like I'm looking at jobs now that are like maybe 40 hours a week. And I'm like, I don't know if this is sustainable for, what it is, but that's just the nature of working in this country.
Yeah. So kind of if they offer 16-hour days, people will just take full year-round work anyway, like because they won't get paid enough anyway. Yeah.
I mean, I know that like at a PA salary, that's true. I know that like the higher you get, the more money you make, and then you are at a liberty to like you can take time off in between jobs if you really want to. But I know like me personally, like I get a little uncomfortable if my like savings account hits a certain level because I'm like, oh no, if I don't find work immediately, I'm gonna be right back at ground one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your first job that you ever had?
I worked on Severance, which is an Apple TV show.
Okay.
Like just
That was your first job ever that you've ever had in your life?
oh, ever in my
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Oh, no. First job ever. Oh God.
Could you imagine? Wow, yeah, that was your first
Like, coming out
job.
the
That's
gate.
No, ever. What did I do? It must have been something like I'm just thinking like an actual proper job where it wasn't like I was helping out like a family member and I got paid for it.
Right,
I
right.
worked in a
Yeah,
bar.
that big-
Like I was in college and I worked in a bar
Mm.
in like Midtown Manhattan. And I was like a host at a host station. In fact, I think before I started working like properly in the television industry, I like mostly did like server work
Mm-hmm.
because it was just the most flexible at school.
Yeah.
Sure is.
What was your experience like as a server? What were some of the biggest lessons you learned?
You need to be patient. It's important to be patient. People, when they are hungry, you are their last resort that they are coming to you. So the anger that they feel towards you does not really matter. They're picturing a burger when they're looking at your head. But like you can kind of take that into any part of life. Like if I'm in a grocery store and some woman yells at me over the last cucumber, I'm like, I probably look like a cucumber herder right now. She's so hungry. I'm gonna
Last cucumber.
yeah.
Right.
You know?
That just makes me think of pickle Rick. That makes me think of pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick.
Remember the eyes. So you grow up in New York? Where are you originally from, New York?
I'm from Long Island because there's always someone who has to be from Long Island, so I guess I'll do that. Someone
How
has to be.
deep? We're in Long Island.
Oh, are you also from Long Island?
His
Well,
family.
no, like yeah, family from there.
Okay. I'm a Nassau County girl.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so very close to the beach, and that's pretty much the only thing interesting that's going on there.
Nice.
What would you get mixed up in? What did you do for fun in Nassau County?
Oh, I was a humble little theater kid. That's all I did. I just did theater. If I wasn't doing theater, I was writing. I think I ran a poetry magazine when I was in high school. I'm very on brand. I've always been very on brand.
Neat.
Yeah, I wasn't straight edge, but I was like friends with the straight edge people. So like by association, I didn't really like do anything crazy. I think like the most I ever did was probably like sneak out of my house to do nothing, like just hang out with friends.
Yeah, same. That was definitely my path. I don't even think I snuck out of my house.
No.
I couldn't know. It was a condo in my room. I couldn't
Yeah,
have done that.
second floor is hard to sneak out of. You need a ladder.
I was on the first floor and there's
Oh.
only one entrance and I just don't think I ever anyway. Theater. What like musicals or just regular play? What'd you love?
I did a little bit of everything. I wanted attention really badly when I was growing up, as we all do. And so I did musical theater. I was very dramatic in nature. Like I was the girl who would walk down the hallways in high school, like singing show tunes and doing high kicks. Like that was just my MO.
Sweet.
It still kind of is my MO, but it's like subdued now because I'm really chill. Please note the sarcasm with that. But God, what did we do? It was mostly just high school. I wasn't serious about it. I just really liked singing and I liked being someone that wasn't me for a little bit. And so like I was a major theater kid, which I'm assuming all three of you were theater kids too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we give off the theater kid vibes?
Well, I mean, I already know you, so I can only make assumptions about the other two.
Were you exposed to it just being out in Long Island? Easy access to the real shit in New York?
The real shit in New York. I don't. How do you mean?
Well, just like I guess people would say Broadway is like the biggest theater, right?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, I never even really thought about it like that. I guess I was like a half hour away from the city, and I did choir like from like third grade on, and so part of the perks of doing choir at like a pretty decent school is that you get to do a lot of fucking cool trips all the time. So they're like, we'll take you to Broadway, we'll do this, like we'll go to the Museum of like Musical Arts or whatever. So yeah, we would like see a show every once in a while, which is cool.
That's how I that's why I went into choirs, because we went to Dorney Park.
Yeah,
That's the only reason.
Same reason why people did the physics.
Student government.
Oh, student government too.
Student government took
nice.
us to trips to Dorney Park. Yeah, that's why also I just went there.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah. What's your favorite field trip of all time?
My favorite field trip of all time. Oh goodness me.
Specifically school field trip, are you asking?
Well, if it's not in school, what is it then? Is it still a field trip?
What field is it going?
I guess it just converts to road trip when you get older, because then you're
right.
I don't know.
Road trips are just field trips with no chaperones.
We went to Disney World when I was a freshman in high school because
Wow.
the choir did like a 3-day, they were in like the parade. And so the whole music department got to go. But the thing is that it almost felt like almost a glimpse into what I would end up doing with my career later on, because it was nothing but walking for like 3 days straight. They like packed everything that you could possibly do at Disney World in those 3 days. I think I broke my shoes. I remember stepping, I think I stepped on a nail on that trip and it went through my shoe. In my
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You wore the
Disney.
same shoes?
I mean, I didn't have any other ones, is the thing.
Wow.
And you know, mama didn't raise no bitch. You know, you keep walking until you get home.
But you took the nail out though, right?
Nah.
No, you just
That's all, man.
Oh my God. Wait, so what about your first experience with marijuana? Was that high school? Was that with the theater kids, or that was
that's a hilarious story because so I know I just said that mama didn't raise no bitch, but I'm a little bitch when it comes to because I'm like 5 feet tall, and my first time. Oh, yay! We have meetings. You can come to the next. It's like a support group for people who can't do things.
Yeah, we'll bring our stools. Okay.
But I was 18. I had recently come out as queer, and I was going to the Pride Parade for my first time ever with a group of my queer friends. And I have this friend, she's gorgeous and tall and can handle liquor and anything that you put in her body. And so she had a pen with her. And all this time I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna like drink, I'm never gonna smoke, I'm not gonna do anything like that. I'm gonna be a straight edge baby. And my friend comes over to me and she's like, you look nervous. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gay enough to be here, which is a whole other conversation. But she was like, you look nervous. Here, just take a hit. And me, a person who was a theater kid and sang a lot growing up, you know, my lung capacity is pretty good. So she said, just keep sucking in until you can't anymore.
Okay.
I think I did a 45-second-ish long hit on this pen.
Oh my gosh.
Said afterwards, just like hold it in until you can't anymore. And I listened because I'm great at taking direction, and it all came out after like a minute of holding it in, and I'm coughing up a storm. I'm like guzzling water, and the world just kind of like smashed together, and it was 2D. I kept swearing I could hear things that were happening like a mile away from me. The colors were intense. I can still remember the pizza that I had that day. Like if I think hard enough about it, I can like feel the grease in my mouth. So, and then I remember I like went home. I was still living with my parents after the parade, and my mom was like, how was it? How did it go? And I was like, I'm very high. I'm going to bed. I collapsed upstairs. I come back down after like 6 hours, and she was like, water? And I went, water.
Yeah, time
Always
just
water.
heals it. Yeah, always water.
Yeah.
So I guess that didn't really help with your nerves, or maybe it did.
I think it just like I don't even remember the parade much. I just remember like colors and like noises.
Yeah, I'm sure your brain was focusing on everything else.
Yeah, I don't think I know that there's like people who like get different kinds of high. I think I'm like a mellow high kind of girl. Like I don't want to get high at a party, but like if I got high with like a small group of friends and we're just gonna chat for the night,
Yes.
excellent.
Yes. I get that. Yeah. I was wondering because like is it because of your anxiety levels? Does it go up when you are? Because I don't like doing it out in certain public places anymore. Yeah, where there's like a big crowd because I'm just like, no.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I don't know what like I think the only other time that I got high like that same year that I really liked was that it was just me and my roommate at the time, and we got very high. We watched Tuca and Birdie for like 2 hours, and then I made strawberry cake and left the butter out on the stove and it just bled out everywhere. And I was laughing the entire time. I was like, this is art. Look at this art that I've created. And my roommate's like, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm like, no, look at the art that I made in the kitchen.
That sounds like a great night.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's preferred over taking it out with me.
Do you enjoy baking or cooking while you're high?
I like cooking. I don't like baking. Actually, that's like the only incident of me like baking really.
Well, we got that story.
Well, yeah, it had to happen for the story, but other than that.
Yeah. Why did you say that you think that you weren't gay enough for when you're at the Pride Parade?
Oh, well, there's like so like I'm more comfortable in my sexuality now, but when I first came out, I was just sort of like, girls are pretty, you know? And I didn't really fully know what it meant. And I thought going to the parade would be like a good indicator for me. It was like a good way to meet new people who had been out longer than I had. And I like grew up in a really small town. No one really like, I think we had like maybe 2 people that I knew closely that like were out and proud about it. And I didn't really have much to look to. So when I was going to the parade, I was like, oh, am I gay enough? Like, what kind of gay do I need to be? And I was like falling into these like pitfall stereotypes. And I didn't really know. I didn't have enough of my own experience yet to be like, oh, this is the kind of person that I am. It's separate from my sexuality, but it's also like the same as my sexuality. And I didn't really get the nuance yet.
Got you.
Yeah.
Can you share at all a little bit like your experience when you were discovering more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm trying to think now. I feel like everything from my like high school life, I don't remember much, but I do remember I had like a friend, if you could call her a friend. And I remember for a really long time just feeling like, oh, I just kind of like really want to be like her. She's great. Like she's kind and warm and pretty and like it's all the things that I want to be as a person. And like, oh, the guys like her because she's like this. And I want guys to like me like this. And like that's how I saw the comparison in it. And it wasn't until I met someone else who was like, I think they were out as pan and they were like, oh, like, yeah, there's this girl and like she would use the same words that I would use to describe how they felt about this other girl. And I was like, oh, but like, yeah, you just want to be really good friends with. And she's like, no, I want to make out with that girl. And I'm like, oh, what? Is that an option? Is that on the table?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I didn't feel any like bad way about it. There's like no, I don't think there was any like negative feelings I had towards it. I just didn't really know it was an option. I didn't see the validity of it yet.
Do you recall your first memory of seeing it in like TV or movies that resonated with you?
Do I? Not really. That's actually really interesting. I don't feel like I mean, there's like queer coded characters. I don't know if you guys like have experienced that, but there's like characters that like when you're growing up who are like in cartoons or TV and like they're not outwardly gay, but they really like you identify strongly with them as being a part of like your queer upbringing.
The benefits of cartoonists being gay.
Yeah.
It is interesting that you do say cartoons because I feel like you definitely pick up notes or tones or hints, just something more in that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because it is like a colorful animated world, whatever it is, there's just a feeling that is different than
like I was like Shigo from Kim Possible. I was like, oh, this woman is queer. I love this woman.
Mm.
And like I didn't know the word for like queer yet, but I would like look at her and I was like, she's one of us. She gets me.
Yeah.
Do you know what your first memory is?
Ever?
Yeah, ever. Yeah. Like how far back can you go? Because I've been asking people this a lot lately, and so it's one or the other. Either people are like, yes, this exact memory, and I'm like, how did you think of that so fast? Or it's like,
Just came out of the gate with that.
listeners, we're all thinking it. I'm just gonna say it. What was your first memory?
Hold on. I'm like
You're gonna have to
thinking.
answer that. You'll have to answer that.
Yeah, what's your first memory? Let's put you first.
Like I definitely remember being 3. But all right, I'm just sorry.
A whole year? That's a lot.
No, sorry. In all honesty, I actually, and this is gonna sound really, really weird.
The whole year.
I definitely remember breastfeeding. Like I definitely remember the experience of breastfeeding. So I was at least young enough for that. I have like I definitely remember that happening.
This is the first time we've ever heard this from Brendan.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna feel different ways
This is
about
great.
breastfeeding.
Wait, does your mom know this?
Probably, yeah. We probably talked about it. She was there too. She remembers it.
I think my first memory is oh god, I used to crawl as a baby, not recently, but I used to crawl under my childhood home's dining room table. And my mom loves this table. It still lives in our childhood home. And I would go under there with white out. My mom would like work from home and there'd be white out. I would take it and I would white out the legs of the dining room table. And the thing is that it's still there. I never tried to hide it. Like as I got older, I just completely forgot it existed. But I have this vivid memory of being under there and my dog, I'm like painting, and my dog at the time came under the table too. And she growled at me like, bitch, this is my space, get out of it. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And I think that might have been my last time ever going down there.
Respect.
I think that's the thing that I remember.
Yeah, that's gotta be shocking for a dog who is always like, it's only dog down here. This is dogland. And then all of a sudden they see a little human just like crawling around.
Yeah, I don't think she liked me much. I came after her, like she had already been there and like she had turf. And then I came in and she was like, this little fucker is gonna take away all my attention. Well, I don't want
to. Resentment from the dog. Wait, do you have other siblings?
Yeah, I have an older sister. She's like almost 9 years older than me. She's 8.5 years older than me. So it's like having a second mom. She's great.
Cool. How was that growing up with? I have a brother 10 years younger, but how was that growing up with? Younger, so yours is older. How was that growing up with such an older sister?
I mean, great, because in a lot of ways, if I'm ever curious what the next 10 years of my life are going to look like, I can always just look to her and be like, well, this is where she is now. And it's a pretty good marker. Like she got married when she was 25. I'm 23. I'm about to be 24 next week. And so like, I can see that we're in very different places in our life right now, but she's always like a good indicator of like where life can be, what my options are. Cause like in so many ways she is me, but just older. Like I'm her, but younger, I guess, because she came first.
Yeah.
Well, happy early birthday to you also.
Yeah, so that makes you an Aries? Yeah. Are you an Aries?
No, I'm right on the cusp of Aries Taurus.
Oh,
look. Yeah.
I'm Taurus, he's Aries, yeah. So.
Virgo.
Nobody's talking about each other.
All right, Virgo's over here.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, what are your birthdays? Are you a May Taurus?
I'm May 9th.
Oh, okay. And
I'm April 5th.
April. Oh wow. Well, happy belated, first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you feel like you can, from what you know about those particular signs, like do you relate to them or feel like your personality is in line with their qualities?
I'm so disappointed in myself, but I'm an astrology bitch, and nope. It's like it's not. I don't know how real it is. In the same way that like I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but like I don't always know how like valid religion is, but I just know that like religion is a thing and astrology is a thing that like people look to kind of like ground them sometimes, gives explanation and meaning to things, and like that's what it does. That's how I view it, at least. So like astrology in a lot of ways is that grounding piece for me, where I'm like, I don't really know if I fully believe in you, but every once in a while I'll open up CoStar and I'll read what it says and I'm like, oh, sure, I guess that makes sense where I'm at right now mentally. I think I definitely, oh, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying I like your comparison because that is true. It is just like, whatever your belief system is.
Yeah. I definitely identify with being a Taurus more than an Aries, although I feel like I could be a little, I don't really know much about Aries, if I'm being honest, but I know that like Tauruses are very like sturdy people. They have like a lot of, or they're like, is loyalty the right word? I don't know if loyalty is the right word, but I just know they're very like
No, that's a good word.
well, if you say so.
No.
Yeah, you're dating one, Jordan.
Yeah.
What do you think? He's really weird with his. I mean, I tell
No,
this
I
to
only date
everybody.
Tauruses,
I tell this to
yeah.
everybody, yeah, because he's. Wait, say it.
No, I just said it.
No,
Yeah,
the
I only date-
dates,
no,
though.
I don't. Yeah.
Wait, is there a date range that you only date people with a certain like birthday range?
Someone he's only been in a relationship
From May
with.
5th to May 12th. Yeah.
Look at her face. I wish it's just an audio podcast, but yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, like, good for you, because that's a big feat, I think, for anybody.
I think that's just such a fun fact.
Yeah.
I guess that is a fun fact.
It
I'll
is
say
a
that
fun
now
fact.
when I have to do
Well,
the fun
and, like
fact.
if you think about it, if you really do believe in astrology, there's something in the universe that's drawing you to people of those. Like someone who knows a lot more than I do about astrology would say that, like,
Yes.
yeah, because I don't know that much, but like they would probably say something along the lines of like, oh, like the universe is bringing you back to a lesson or a type of person to teach you something. You
It's
know?
some sort of energy that gravitates towards you. Because I
Wow.
don't know a lot about astrology either, and I'm just like, yeah, this is. I just ask people. I'm like, what's a Taurus? What do they do? What's their deal?
Also, my best
We
friend's
ride
from-
bulls.
But yeah, it's pretty much I guess I'm a sturdy person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I was gonna say my best friends from college and my mom and grandma are all like October 26th to the October 30th.
He has definitely people in his
Wow.
life, that are in like
Yeah,
batches and like dates like that. Yeah, it's interesting.
That is really interesting.
Trippy.
Do you guys know your big three? Do you know what your big three is?
What is that?
It's your sun, your moon, and your rising signs.
No, unfortunately.
Oh man. Okay. Well, everyone
yours?
ask their respective mothers and find out the time and place you were born. That's like what you need to like figure out your star, your moon, and your rising. And then
I know
basically,
what time I was born. What do you mean by place?
so your sun is the date that you were born. The time, I think it's the time. I hope no one smites me, but I think it's the time of like the time you were born indicates your moon, and then the place you were born indicates your rising. And your sun is like your ecosystem, like how you exist in the world and interpret the world. Your moon is like how you interpret yourself, like how you reflect upon yourself and see yourself, how you handle your emotions. And then your rising is how the world perceives you. So like your first impressions that you make on people. And like, yeah.
Wait, you know yours?
I know mine.
And
So I'm a Taurus sun, an Aquarius moon, and a Scorpio rising.
Scorpio Rising. That'd be a great action movie.
It's a soccer mommy song, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's all about being a Scorpio. Scorpio risings are like they're meant to be these kind of people who they come off either like intimidating or they have like a really strong impression on people, but they're big old softies on the inside. But because the front that they give off is of being like very strong and independent, they don't always get the support they need. And that's like the trope of the Scorpio rising.
Interesting.
I'm definitely gonna look this up after.
Yeah.
Is there like a specific a personality or type of like person that gravitates towards you as far as friends? Is there any of that you've recognized a pattern?
Yeah, I think I adopt a lot of introverted people. I think I am like the extrovert hub. Which I don't mind being. It's very fun to collect. Like my best friend is like more reserved than I am, and I think the way that I met her was by like pestering her for headphones in the film department lobby of Brooklyn College like every day. And like one of my other friends, I like kept complimenting their outfit until they actually had a conversation with me. Like that's just how I like pick people and bring them to me.
Cool. Oh yes, so Brooklyn College. Can you say how you and Brendan met? And what was your first impression of Brendan?
Oh, that's fun. I'm thinking now. How did exactly did we meet? Did we meet because of we worked on a film together? Is that
Yeah.
how we met though?
Yeah, I would say that we definitely got to know each other working on Becca Crabtree, her film that she did, shot in
Mhm.
Pennsylvania. But it's very like because you said like the film department lobby, and I'm like, it's very likely that we could have also met there too, because I feel like yeah, I feel like I remember having a lot of conversations in that film lobby. But yeah, like I said, we definitely got to know each other on Becca's film. That was a fun shoot. That was a wild shoot.
It was a wild shoot. I don't know if I told, but I almost died on that shoot.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, tell us go
Tell the
on.
tale,
Tell
yeah.
There was a rainstorm that happened and we had to stop shooting one of the days that we were there, and we're shooting on this like incline. You have to like hold on to a literal rope to like get down to where the actual set is, and there's like a little bridge over a mini waterfall, and then there's like a runoff to this bigger lake, and we were using all of it to shoot. So the first day that we're down there, it's not raining, and I was doing special effects makeup for it, and I'm not equipped to do that, but I was doing it on this job, and I was just like a general PA, and I lost the makeup because when the storm hit, Becca was like, everyone take shelter, like let's go, and like ushered us all up to the house, and I was like, hey, I think I left the makeup, and she was like, I got it, go go go, and I was like, okay, I'm going I'm going up the thing. And I think in the hustle, she also forgot it. So it's like 2 a.m. That was our call time because we had to like make up for lost time because the rain, and it just finished raining. So everything's like slick and muddy. And Becca's freaking out because she can't find the makeup and I can't find it either. So I'm like, oh, fuck, it must still be on set. And we can't start like Maria's makeup until we have it. So I was like, all right, fuck, what are we going to do? So me and why can't I remember his name now?
What was his
He's
job?
the DP.
Oh, Ethan?
Ethan, yeah. Okay, so Ethan.
Even
Yeah. Oh yeah. Who's that Ethan?
yeah, you're forgettable, Ethan.
Oh my God.
We're gonna clip this part out just for Ethan.
You'll find that funny. Okay, continue.
But Ethan was really brave and like went in a golf cart with me down to where we were shooting so we could retrieve this thing. And we had like I think just a flashlight. My man was not equipped. He wore sneakers. I feared for his life. So I'm like walking in front of him and I'm like stepping on each rock before we start walking down because I'm wearing Docs, which is not much better. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
the waters, and I'm like, hey, you should step here. And he was like, Aleeza, just keep walking. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And we're going all the way down. And we finally get there and I see the makeup and I catch it. Basically it's like right on like the flat terrain where we like at stage before, and I grab it and I think I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. I think I like dropped the flashlight or something, but like I have this vivid memory of Ethan turning to me and being like, you did it, that's great, you got the thing, let's go back up, like this was so scary, let's never talk about it again. Immediately, I think I slipped and I'm like falling and I grab onto, oh, that's what happened. I fall and I grabbed onto the tree trunk, and I like threw the flashlight, and I had so much adrenaline in me that I like pushed myself back up again, but I was like really close to falling off this little like cliff onto where the rocks were.
Oh my God.
And I wouldn't have died, but I would have been fairly injured. And I'm like hoisting myself back up again, and I have such adrenaline in my body that like I know that the flashlight is about to fall off and like be gone and into the water. And I was like, I'm going back for the flashlight. And I like shimmied back down again. And I like grabbed it and we went back up there. But yeah, it was great.
Wow.
Yeah, you had like your own Indiana Jones going on inside the this movie.
Yeah. I had to. Someone had to do it.
Yeah, amateur sets, they have the least insurance, but need it the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you need to get the great stories. You also need to like, I think you need to be on shitty sets to learn what good ones look like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
I've
fair.
been on my fair share of shitty sets at this point, so I feel like
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a great photo that I came across the other day that you took while we were on the set of that shoot, and it's like I feel like it's like the perfect encapsulation of an actual film shoot set because you have like two people. One of them's in pink full body makeup, the other one's in like full green body makeup with like elf ears, and then you have like a sound guy who's like actually doing his job, and I'm in the background wearing pajama pants, just like standing like looking around, and I'm like that is film school right there.
Essence of film school.
Sums it up. What are some of the things you do learn from the unexpected of film? Because obviously so many things happen when making a movie.
You know, a lot of the similar lessons that you learned from working in a restaurant, which is just like have patience, trust the process, and also just like, you know, nothing's ever that big of a deal. Like you're not saving someone's life. And there's sometimes a lot of like beauty that comes with saying like, fuck it, let's just see what happens. You know, like if a prop breaks, you can always do something else with it. There's, you know, there's always some way to fix it. This is not life or death.
That's good.
Yes,
That's true.
that is good. That is profound. What were some of the films that made you want to get into the whole shebang that is this industry?
Oh, the biz that is show. Oh, geez. I'm trying to think. I don't really consume a lot of.
So it was more theater straight into.
Rather than like theater, really. I think I just like I really loved the idea of like just telling stories visually. Like I loved photography growing up, and I loved writing, and I feel like the combination of the two is just like a really beautiful medium. It wasn't really until like I got into high school or like later high school, like senior year of high school or college, that I was like, oh, this shit's pretty fucking cool. Like I like that. I'm trying to think. I early on in my life, I used to just watch like nothing but rom-coms. And it's like remember being genuinely very happy watching them. So I was just like, that sounds nice. I could do that forever. Why not?
Wait, what are your some of your favorite rom-coms?
You must have also a side note, you must have been the most like refreshing person in film school.
I don't want to.
just like not saying Tarantino.
I mean, like, okay, so rom-com wise, 10 Things I Hate About You is a fan favorite. We'll watch it any time of year.
Yes.
I don't think Pride and Prejudice is the 2005 version with Keira Knightley. It's not a rom-com, but it holds like a special place in my heart where for a very long time I could not watch it with other people because it was just so like giggle inducing because it's so fucking cute that I was like, I can't be around other people. I will be flustered. I will throw my laptop. No one can see me. No. Yeah, those are good. Those are good ones. I'm trying to think of other ones, but I can't.
Yeah. Do you write a lot of rom-coms?
I don't think I'm good at writing them. It takes a very special person to write comedy in general. Like you have to really understand like why things are funny before you can just like write something funny. You know? And like I don't think I'm that person. Like sometimes things will land and I'll be like, cool, that's funny. And other times I'm like, whatever. But I like romance stories. Those are fun to write. I don't think I've ever like successfully written a beautiful like love story before, but I'll write like little short things here and there that are just really fun to delve into.
Yeah. What topics or what kinds of stories do you find yourself most drawn to writing?
I really like character pieces. I like a lot of like I always gravitate towards like the mother-daughter relationship story. And maybe that's like me going through therapy without paying for it. But
We all are. It's okay.
yeah, we all are. That's why we do this. But I feel like there's something really interesting about female relationships, regardless of like if they're platonic or familial or what have you. Like there's just something so communal about it that isn't touched upon enough, I think. And so they're just always so interesting, or just like watching women fall the fuck apart because of what life has handed them are just such interesting stories to me. So
Yeah.
I go back to them.
Yeah. You just made me think of The Lost Daughter. That's totally what I felt when that film came out. And well, Maggie Gyllenhaal, it was like adapted screenplay off of the book. But have you seen The Lost Daughter?
I haven't, no, but I would not be surprised if Maggie Gyllenhaal is attached to something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was her first, it was her directorial debut, right? But yeah, it was just Olivia, what's her last name? Who's the lead? Olivia Colman? Yeah, thank you.
John.
No. Olivia Colman, and then Dakota Johnson.
Right.
Name, right? She's in the film. Why am I blanking on people's
Yeah.
names? Yeah. But
Okay.
there was just something about like, yeah, it's just, it is so heavily on mothers, daughters, and women in general. And then like when you have the emotional, just like you're saying, people breaking down and just what life has to give them, it was like, yeah, you know, I'm sure many other women watching it, and you just like, you know, how does this relate to you and reflect to you? And you did like whatever, and stuff like that, where it's just like there is something a little bit more special for me personally, just being a woman, than if I'm seeing, if the story was a father and a son, it would be an entirely different effect on me.
Yeah.
You know, of course, but yeah, so basically more female stories.
Yes, yeah.
More unique, different views.
Yeah. Do you get creative blocks? And if so, what are some ways that you get out of there? Some tips that you have for
How do you
navigating?
get out of there?
Yeah.
How do you get out of those creative blocks?
They're everywhere.
I feel like I always have creative blocks. Like sometimes I feel like I'll write a lot. Like I'm constantly writing something, but whether or not it's good, I don't really know. And then every like once a year, like maybe like 3 times a year, I'll write something and I'll be like, well, this is good. Everything else has been crap so far, but like I'm glad that all the crap that I wrote brought me here. So that's nice. It's
I'm shocked that you say you have it often, creative block, because I always assume like, oh, writers, you guys just flows out so easily because of Brendan here,
No,
with how much you write.
Writers just smack their head against the wall more often.
Oh, I just love that. So refreshing. I'm like, it's just so nice to hear that you say that, and then like also for how long it takes for you to get to something that you feel is good or up to par for your, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like for me, when I have something to write, it's like, I don't even know if necessarily it'll make sense, but like a string of words will just like pop into my head. Unless I write it down, it's not going to leave. It's just like repetitive on loop. And then I'll stay in my notes app as like one line for maybe a month. And then finally something else will happen. I'll be like, oh, that's what that meant. Okay. And then I can like expand on it later. But like for the first, like, I just call it like poop. Like my poop will come out and then I'll like store it somewhere. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with all this poop.
I call it vomit. Yeah.
At some point, I'll like,
body.
but like at some point, like I'll smell the poop. I'll be like, oh, I have to deal with it now because now I'm smelling it. So I'll go back to it and I'll be like, oh, this is where.
I love that. Yeah.
Go back to your poop. If you have poop that you have not.
That's such a great use.
Always love your poop, but like sometimes you can't. Like sometimes you just can't deal with it.
Yeah, but it is necessary. It's healthy. You always have to take a shit, and you're always.
Yeah, you always have to take a shit. This has been sponsored by all of your favorite local laxatives this episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just fiber in general.
Yeah. Fiber
also, Sheridan. What is that toilet paper called? What's that called? Sheridan. What is it?
Sheridan's a hotel. Sheridan's a shitty hotel.
Oh, you're thinking of
Bears.
names.
No, the Bears use
Charmin Ultra lessons.
Why did I just say the hotel Sheridan?
Oh, but
the Sessions of Mary Jane.
Yeah, you have some kind of Freudian association with toilet paper in that hotel. How do you know when something that you're working on is done?
That's a good question.
Oh, it's never done. It's probably never done. I think like you can be like, whether it's like the topic or the thing, I guess it depends on what it is. Like I've written poems before and then like I won't look at it for 6 years and then I'll look back at it again being like, maybe we give her a little spruce, just a little cleaning, a little spring tidying up, and then we can put her back out into the world again. Or like sometimes I'll write a script that has like a feeling or an idea, and I'm just like, after I finish it, I'm like, oh, that's good, but it didn't quite like satisfy me yet, and then I'm not done with that idea, and I bring it into the next story. And like the characters can change, but like I won't be done with that moment yet.
Do you feel that's because if you wrote something 6 years ago, you were in that stage of your life versus now you're in a different stage of your life, so you look at your own material through a new lens?
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends on like what it is. Like sometimes I write things that mean literally nothing to me, and I just write them because I was in the mood to write something, and I'll look back at it and I can be completely objective and being like, oh, that's actually a really good line right there, and I can use it for this thing that I'm working on because this poem meant nothing. But then sometimes I'll look at something else I've written and I'll be like, wow, this is such a good like artifact of who I use, like a beautiful like frozen time capsule of who I used to be and how I used to see things and how I used to phrase things, and I wouldn't ever want to touch it. Would want to like preserve this moment of who this person used to be. So I think it just depends on what it is.
Yeah.
If you could tell yourself either a you in the past or a you in the future something, what age would you choose and what would you say to them? That's right. We're getting to this part of the podcast, guys.
Your questions.
Multiple questions in one question.
No, what would you say to your past, present, and future self?
Well, you have to pick one. You can't
You gotta
do
pick one, okay.
both.
I'd
And
probably,
also, you have to answer that later. Any hard question you come up with, you have to answer.
All right, fine.
Well,
yeah, I think that's fair.
First.
I
No.
right to my younger self, I would probably just tell her that it's gonna be fine. Nothing's ever that serious. And you know, you don't gotta take yourself that seriously because no one else is taking you that seriously. You're a kid. I'd probably even carry that out to me now and me later if that was an option.
Yeah, I would definitely carry that throughout my entire life.
Yeah.
Like
She
it's
moved
never
by
that.
Yeah, just constantly taking stuff so seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Brendan, it's your turn now.
Yeah,
Oh, so
Brendan.
I would definitely go to like 80 or 90-year-old me. And I would honestly, it would kind of be something along the similar lines. I think I have to gauge the situation first. If I get there and I'm like really, really mad or like grumpy, I'm gonna be like, yo, stop being grumpy. That's really what I'm gonna say to myself. Or no, actually, no. I would say, sorry, there's a lot of pressure. I'm talking to my 80 or 90-year-old self. No, I would tell them to like really pay attention to what is in front of them. Because I feel like if I get to a point where I can't like, what do you mean?
No, you go.
All right, cool. No, because I think, and then at least for me, like the older I get, I feel like the harder it is to remember to like always be like really be looking at what's right in front of you. And I've been reading a lot about memories, and one of the things that I found out was that part of the reason why people have like can't remember things is because they were not present enough when it was happening. And I think it becomes like a bigger issue as people are on their phones more and more because like you're really not looking at things. So it's like not necessarily like things about the brain in terms of like damage or things wrong with your brain, so that you're like your mind did not take the picture, you know, or like they didn't take like a clear enough picture to remember it. So yeah.
I didn't think of that.
Why were you poking that?
Is that what you asked?
To move your leg? No. Wow. I don't think I ever thought as far as like how present we are with how refined our memories are for how distracted we are with our phones and everything. So I did new tidbit from Brendan.
That's right.
I'm just gonna pop in here and ask if there's any poets you want to add to your list.
Ooh, let's put oh my god, Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, okay.
Wow. Classic poet.
He's a problematic fave, but he counts. Who else do we have? Shakespeare. Wow, I'm boring. Whoever wrote Beowulf, anonymous #1.
Wait, is that real? Wait, what's the because does Beowulf not have an official author?
Beowulf was a story that was like written over, not written, but it was like a word of mouth story. So it was like told by multiple different people, and that's how it kept building. So technically it's translated by one person. I can't remember his name, but the actual story is probably like centuries old, and it dates back to like whoever first told the small tidbit of the story, and then it grew. Because like back in that time, like it was like a traveler story. So like you would travel to the next town and then tell the story, they would tip you, and then that person would then carry out the story and build on more to it.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like where a lot of fairy tales stem from? Right.
Oh yeah. There's there's very little like I mean there's Brothers Grimm and like people who are like very notable and did like big works, but like more stories often than not like stem from lore of some kind. Like what's her name? There's a female director, Alice Guy. She made this one of the first ever like narrative films ever. Like she was one of the first directors ever. And she made this story called The Cabbage Fairy, and it's this old French lore about this woman who like waves a wand and then from a cabbage births a baby. And cabbage babies, and she's a cabbage fairy, and she just like goes around the thing, and like that stems from some sort of like French lore that probably at one point was like English or wherever it, or like Germanic or wherever it is that it came from.
That's
Damn.
I wish I was a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Cabbage Patch Baby. How many does she have announced so far?
Do you want to know how many you have right now, or do you want to keep going and name more?
No, let me name some more. I can name more. I'm now like cheating and looking around my room because I'm awful. John Kenny is an author of a poetry book apparently that I've never read yet. I have not read it yet. Let's see. There's me, Aleeza DeAlto. I count. I can put myself.
Yeah.
Fuck. It's like when someone's like, oh, like tell me a fun fact about yourself, and then everything that's fun about you just like pops out of your head.
Yeah.
I only have depressing facts about myself.
Yeah, no, I literally get that whenever someone says, "What are you thinking about right now?" And I'm like, oh, I did know, but now I can't remember.
You weren't actively thinking about it; it was just happening to you.
It's true, yeah, but that happens a lot.
I think those are the poets I have. I'm so sad, but
Don't be sad.
Don't be sad. Nobody else has had this challenge, so you're a winner anyway.
Yeah, you got a very solid 6 poets. So
I will take it.
6 is the number of the night.
earlier.
Our last podcast, he had 6 in his challenge.
yeah, we'll have to get all the Sixers together and have them compete against each other.
It's not a competition, but you guys both tied. So
Yeah.
that's just good for everyone.
Yeah. Also, listening to this podcast was good for all of us. So, Aleeza, thank you so much for being on it and for being our guest.
Is there a place that we could find any like written stuff or
your
more
content or
private stuff right now? Keep on the lookout. We should just follow you for some good stuff.
Just my Instagram. I'm a humble girl at that annoying ginger, because I love to let people know what they're getting themselves into when they follow me, and so that's all I have.
Damn straight. All right. Well, thank you guys for
Lovely.
listening out there. You can find all of our content, all the stuff that we're making at latenighthump.com, at Late Night Hump. You can send us an email at latenighthump@gmail.com. Duh. Who doesn't use a Gmail these days? And, we're always posting sketch videos. We got the podcast coming out, both the Morning Shower, which is our morning joke news show. And then also we got the Sessions of Mary Jane episodes like this one you're listening to right now. And so I feel like an old time commercial talk radio host. So I'll just say, have a good rest of your life.